Let me see if I can't make that go back. All right. So I hope you guys are at least reasonably comfortable with that. I'm going to be assigning another homework. I'm going to get it posted within the next couple of days. Bad news is that it's going to be due on Monday night. Yes. That would be the number of people that it wouldn't be false negatives, it would be false positives, right? Because those would be the percentage of people that tested positive that don't have the disease. See the first that first portion on the left of the denominator is the percentage of people that test positive that do have the disease, on the right side, added together, that on the other side of that plus sign is the percentage of people that test positive given they don't have the disease. When you add them together, it's the total number of people that test positive. Okay? And I think what you got to do is you got to like sleep, you got to literally write this on a piece of paper, sleep on it for a few nights, and each time you look at it, it'll make a little bit more sense. Okay, so let's talk about the homework. Where did you guys have issues on the homework? I know there's some issues. How do I know there's some issues? Very few people have pressed that submit button, right? So that worries me. That tells me that there's issues, right? So I would appreciate it if somebody would tell me what the issues were. Oh, what did I just do here? I hope I didn't lose that. Let me get this back. There we go. We're back. Okay. So, guys online also, let's talk about the. I'm going to open the homework up, the assignment up. Okay. Like I said, I'm going to be assigning another homework in the next day or two. I'll have it posted. Okay. That's going to be this material, right? That we covered tonight. What do we have on Monday? We have a test, right? Kind of early in the semester. The reason why it's so early in the semester is I want you to get at least one test under your belt so that the first test doesn't cover too much ground. Okay, the second test covers a lot of ground, it's a long way down. In between those two, I'm going to have a voluntary test. And the voluntary test is going to be like midway between the two. It's going to cover material since all these tests are going to be non-cumulative. It's only going to cover the material since the last test. That middle test is going to be a voluntary test. Everybody's going to take the voluntary test. The reason why everybody's going to take the voluntary test is because I'm only going to average it in if it helps you score. Okay? The reason why I'm doing that is because since there's such a big gap between the first test and the second test, I don't want you guys to like just get to the second test and just like having slacked off for the last you know I want to say 2 months, but we're in the summer session here. Things happen fast around here. Trust me, it's going to seem like it went by in a day. By the time we get to week 7 and 8 and do projects and stuff like that. So, and I think after the first test, I'll start to discuss the project and what that involves. Anybody here happen to glance in or catch one of the other classes that we've done where we did this project? Let me give you a quick description of what it is. How many here have gone to poster sessions? No, oh, you got one or two people. You know what a poster session is? If you go to a major conference, almost always there's going to be major speakers there. They're going to get up at a podium. They're going to have a room full of hundreds of people. They're going to present a paper or research or they're going to instruct people on certain things and so on and so forth. And people are going to attend those meetings. There's going to be on each day there might be 8 of those or 10 of those. On a really big conference, there might be 50 of them a day, right? However, there's going to be hundreds of other researchers that present the results of their studies, the work that they're doing, but they don't have the opportunity to stand in front of the entire group and present that material. So they do something called a poster session. They take a foam board about yay big, maybe about 3 feet by 4 feet, and they actually summarize their research. They describe what they're researching, what they're doing. They talk about their methodology. They describe their results and they show their conclusions. They got graphs and they got, all sorts of so on and so forth. So if you're doing research on asthma, you do this whole thing about how you surveyed, you've been working on this. Some of them are material that's ready to be published or already published. A lot of it is stuff that you're working on, but you want to discuss what you want to expose other people to get some feedback and stuff like that. And in a typical conference, they might have a room with 100 of these or 200 of these posters on easels, basically on a wall, a series of walls or easels or something like that. And the researcher stands next to them, and people go through these posters. They walk through these poster sessions. I'll show you some pictures. They walk through these poster sessions, and as you walk through, it's like being in a flea market, right? You walk through, and I'm not interested in asthma. I'm not interested in that. Ebola. I'm really interested in Ebola. This person's doing something with Ebola. They have data that I haven't seen before. You stop. You look at it. If they look like they won't bite you, you speak to the researcher, ask them questions, and so on and so forth. You guys are going to make up posters. I'm going to give you data sets that you can use, right? And you're going to do a simple poster. You're going to describe I'm going to give you data sets, and you're going to say, well, this data set has information about premature births and maternal smoking or something like that, or alcohol consumption. And you're going to say, oh, I'm going to investigate that given the data that I have here. And you're going to describe what your objective is. You're going to give me descriptive statistics. Descriptive statistics tells me basically the population. How many women were there? What was their age range? Were they married, not married, and so on and so forth. You're going to give me, you're going to do a statistical test. You're going to show the data. You're going to do a statistical test. Compare women who consumed alcohol versus women who didn't consume alcohol with regard to, say, premature births or something like that. And then you're going to discuss your conclusions. Is this real research? No, because you're not going to gather the data. I'm going to give you data sets and stuff like that. I'm sorry, say again? I'm going to give you several data sets, and yes, it will wind up that like 6 of you will do the same thing, basically the same thing. I'm hoping that won't be the case. That like there'll be enough variability. In other words, I'm not going to force you to use a certain data set. You use this one, you use that one. I'm going to give you data sets. It's going to be up to you to do what you're interested in, and you can wind up doing the same things. Now, I will also, if you guys have other classes you take, EPI, something you're doing at work or something like that, you want to use that data and present that, you're perfectly welcome to do that. As we get closer to the end of the semester when we're going to do that, I'm going to ask you if you're going to use an outside data set. I'm going to ask you to give me a summary of what you want to do, so I make sure you don't go off on a tangent, and turn this into like a 9-month project, and come in like bleary eyed and like having exhausted and bleary eyed when you do this, okay? So you don't bite off more than you can really chew. So I'm going to ask you to, and you'll have a chance to as you go through this, you have a chance to ask me questions about what you're doing and so on and so forth. Usually we would have, an opportunity to maybe, put in a submission of a sample of it and go on, but with the summer session going so quickly, we're not going to have a lot of time for this. The last 2 classes are devoted to this. We'll break it up into 15 and 15. Because in the last class, we're going to get foam core. We're going to print this out on regular 8.5, 11 sheets of paper, a certain font size, so we can read it. Right, so you can stand in front of it, read it. The last 2 classes, we're going to take like 20 of these 15 or 24 of these foam core boards and easels that we have upstairs. We're going to bring them down here, or we'll do it in the auditorium or something like that. We'll set them up, and you guys will take turns, and I'll give you push pins and stuff like that, so you can push. So you're not really going to print a poster. It usually goes up professional printers, but you'll be able to stick out a description in this part over here, and you'll be able to kind of assemble it from individual sheets of paper. And you will take 5, depending on how many people we have each night, like 5 minutes, and you'll present your research, basically your research. Tell us what you did, what tests you used, why you used the test, and I'll show you the what's the word for it? I'm not really a pedagogical expert. I'm more of a mold expert or some other kind of expert. But what is it called again? When a rubric. I'll give you the rubric that I'll use for grading. In other words, the description will be worth this much and needs to be worth this much. So you get an idea of what you need to make sure you include. And so, but it should be pretty interesting. I think you like it. You're gonna like it a lot better in the final. Let me tell you, after we cover all this different material, because like I said, I don't want to, especially in summertime, it's gonna be very difficult if we make these tests cumulative. So they're not gonna be cumulative. The exams only cover the material since the last exam. And then your project, you'll choose one of these test methodologies. These words probably don't mean too much for you, chi-square or t-test or analysis of variance or whatever. These are all things you're going to learn this semester, and you'll choose the test that's appropriate for that data. That's basically really what the project is testing. Have you learned how to, apply these tests that we're learning uh, to data and research that you might wind up doing someday. Okay, and also it involves the use of SPSS or Excel to create the charts you want, the tables you want, and so on and so forth. Okay, so let's go back to now. I don't know what time this class officially ends. Anybody have any idea? Is it 8:30 or is it 8:50 or 45 or it's always like during the year it's always an odd time. Like it goes 6 o'clock to 8. What is it? 8:30. Okay. All right. Okay. So, and if you got a train to catch ever or something like that, and you got to leave a few minutes early, don't worry about it. I won't be offended. Yeah, I won't be offended. Yeah, they don't see that on that's just us. That's some sort of software that's built into this for some reason. Okay, so let me go. Let me go into the homework. I did one or two of them. Yeah, I think I did two of them. But there weren't that many submit. I didn't look at it last night or two. But there were only a couple of submit. Only people. There were a lot of people working on it. A lot of people working on it. I think you had one wrong or something like that. Right? Did you check the score? I think you had one. Yes. Yeah. Even after the first exam, if after you've seen your score, you looked at it, you got another week or two to resubmit it for homework. Yes. Okay, that homework. Okay, so I'll leave it open so you can resubmit, for those purposes. Because I want the homework to be something that you actually want to do and learn something from, and then have it affect you, have it only be a positive influence on your grade, assuming you do it. You know, once you resubmit it again, yeah, you're done. How do you mean? Oh yeah. You mean on I don't know. I can't see your view of it from where I am. I try and set it up so you get feedback as you answer the questions. You get feedback on if I'm correct the way I set this first assignment up. If it was a numerical answer or multiple choice, you should get feedback immediately on whether or not you got it right or not. Is that the case? Is that what you guys think? You didn't think so? But you can tell me as we go forward, you can tell me what happens. That's the way those are the choices I made. Whether it works on Blackboard is a whole, whether Blackboard's working correctly is a whole nother thing. You'll see feedback from me generally at the end. In other words, if you got everything right, you're not going to see feedback. So maybe, nice job or something like that. But I might tell you, oh, take another look at question number 3. You got an issue there, or take a look at this or something like that. You might get feedback like that from me. So, and I only grade, if you submit it 2 or 3 times, I only grade the last version. The downside is it doesn't let you go back and just change the ones you got wrong, that other city program or something like that. You have to start from scratch. It will only if it's numerical or multiple choice. If it's an essay, I grade them individually. I have to grade them individually. And in fact, you won't get the total grade until I grade the essays. You got to have a score in for everything before it gives you a total grade. Just the quirkiness of Blackboard. I don't comment on them. They're not really in a form I can easily send them back and comment. I can in a little box that's feedback, I can say something about what might have been wrong with it. So in general, I will if you got them wrong, I'll say something about that. I'll try and give you some kind of feedback on it. Okay, but you won't see them like marked up with like a pencil or something like that. If anybody really wants to print it out and hand it in or something like that, because you really want that kind of feedback, I'll be glad to do that. But with 30 or 35 students, I can't do it. At least not with two classes a week and only virtual. Virtually, I won't grade test. I tried to get him to do it, but he just won't do it. And so and now, as far as the exam is on Monday, it's going to be open book, of course. You can bring anything you want, textbook, like the online textbook or a printed version of it. You can bring any of your notes. You can access anything that's on Blackboard. Any link that's on Blackboard, any material that's on Blackboard, you'll be able to access from here. You can bring your own computer or you can use the computers here. We might have to spread out a little bit into the other room because if everybody really does show up, it's going to be tight. Yes, it's going to be on the computer. Okay, so it might be a Word document or something like that you'll fill out and write on the computer. It's going to be tough to do. I don't really have because the summer and stuff like that, it's tough for me to get access to the copying services and stuff like that. Yeah, this room and the next room. Yeah, we also have the room next to us reserved. If we had had a bigger group here tonight, we would have spilled over into there, and I would have just had this broadcasting in there with the speaker on, so they would have heard me just as they would have online. Okay, so or you could have, they also have laptops. They don't have them in this room. They have these boxes with laptops in them, and if we run out of seats, you have the choice of sitting next door or using a laptop that ISET will provide, the library will provide. So at any rate, where homework is concerned, just go through it quickly. I'll tell you what, let me just open it so it's as if I were doing it. Is the test going to be similar? The test is going to be very similar to the homeworks. I might even post a kind of a sample test. Okay, so you can get an idea of what it's going to look like. But I'm going to limit the material to the first three classes tonight and the previous two classes. But I am going to assign a homework that's due on Monday, the same night as the exam, that's going to cover some of this material. So you may want to do that homework anyway, since it's going to be stuff that will be on the test. No, I'm going to give you the whole time to do the test, unless I make an error in judgment and make a really short test, and then we have the time. Yeah, why not? Yes. I'm sorry. Say again. Yes. Yes. Oh my goodness, you probably should take it anyway, because if you do any, like uh, 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 you'll read about review boards, and any new research that has to be done involves human subjects has to go through a review board for approval. And among other things, the people that are doing the data collection, the interaction with patients, the use of data, and so on and so forth, have to have this city program certificate in order to do that. So eventually, at some point, as a public health student, you're going to be called on to do that. So somebody's going to want you to do that. So if you have it, you'll avoid having to do it in the future. They make us in this course very frequently for many public health students is their first semester. So they ask us to do it in this course, make it a required part of this course. It's not my choice. They actually want us to make it a required part of this particular course. They know going forward, you take EPI, which is, this is a prerequisite for EPI. When you take EPI, they know you've already taken this stuff, so you have it. You took EPI already? No kidding, because they probably assumed that what you did when you took biostatistics. Yeah, yeah. So you never know when you work on a project later on, or a thesis or whatever. You may be called on to do research that your review board at your institution, whatever. Where are you from? Another unit, another. Oh, from Brooklyn. Yeah. So if you wind up getting involved in a project or a thesis or something like that involves human research, their review board's going to want to make sure that you have that. Yeah, sure, absolutely. As long as it's like for graduate students. Well, if it's over a year, you need to take the assumption is that you're at the beginning of your education here. So they figure, you might be here for another 2 or 3 years. So we don't want it to expire. So if it's more than a year old, they tell us to ask you to redo it. Redo it means, if you've done it before, just means to take a refresher, which is much shorter than yeah. By the way, for you guys that really haven't gotten to it yet, what will you guys say about maybe 4, 5, 6 hours of reading? Is basically it? Right? Is that about the amount of time it takes? Depends on how careful. Now you don't have, I got a few people who gave it to me 100% on everything. You don't have to go back and get 100% on everything, right? You're not going to get a better grade for it. You got to get 80% overall, right? So don't kill a lot of time going back on and getting every question right. As long as you understand what you got wrong, which ones you got wrong and stuff. Right? So how long did it take you?
I've done about 4 or 5 of the sessions, and it's definitely been about 2 hours.
Yeah. Yeah. Out of about 10 modules or something like that? 14 modules. Yeah. Yeah. I'd say if I had to guess, I'd say if you budget 6 hours, you should be able to get it done.
And it's due on Monday.
No, it's not. No, I'll give you more time on that. Okay. I know I made the due date on Monday. I'm lying. Yeah, I lie like that. But trust me, you're going to make me crazy if you wait till the end of the semester, and I got to put grades in for you, and they don't want me to put a grade in for you unless you've completed that, right? It's my guess is that I would say for this course it's mandatory because they want everybody who takes this course to do that city program certificate. So for this course, yeah, and effectively, really, when you go to these other institutions, you're going to need it anyway. At some stage in your public health career, you're absolutely going to need it because public health, and you're going to deal with people sooner or later. So whatever institution you wind up getting involved with is going to want this kind of thing. So at any rate, let me see if I can't go through this. Having difficulty. Okay, so having difficulty pasting bar graph in Word. SPSS. How to resolve this? Test covered last week's materials. Last week, Monday, Wednesday, and today. It will cover. Okay, questions. Had difficulty understanding questions in the fill questions compared to the multiple choices. I program in what the right answers are. And if you write something in there that is a alternate right answer, I'll go back and correct it. First one, difficulty attaching graphs. A couple of people have difficulty pasting the graphs in there. Now, I have a bug in my version of SPSS, which does not allow me to, or Word, one or the other. They don't work together. So I'm going to begin this just so you can take a look at it, and we can go over it in the last few minutes here. Boy, we killed a lot of time here talking about this other stuff. Okay, nominal categorical variables. Okay, nominal categorical, same thing. Okay, 2 of these. Now, last semester, a lot of people got, missed 1 or 2 of them because they didn't know how many of them I was counting as categorical variables. Anybody want to give me a chance, a shot at this? Which 2 are categorical variables? Which ones? A is country of origin, and what? C, do you smoke? Which is yes, no. That's categorical variable. How about which of the following are discrete numerical variables? What's the property of a discrete numerical variable? It's an integer, right? Okay, it's numerical. It's an integer. Which ones are those? B is how many siblings do you have? Yeah, that sounds like you would have like a fractional sibling, right? And D is how many whole cups of coffee. Notice I said whole cups of coffee, not 2.5, not 3.5. Okay, Y is, if I had asked you what, the next one I think is going to come up. Which one's a scalar variables? And there's 3 there. Which of those? Okay, scalar, same thing as numerical. I included scalar because SPSS uses the word scalar instead of numerical. Okay, so which ones are scalar? A, because it's an average, right? Could come up 3.2, 9.7, if you drink a lot of coffee, right? Blood test is numerical, right? That's a numerical result. And E, your blood pressure. Now, how many whole cups of coffee you drink? That's a numerical variable also. It just happens that I mentioned in there not counting discrete numerical. But if you called it a numerical variable, it would be a numerical variable. It's a number. Okay, which of the following ordinal variables? That's a special kind of categorical variable where the different categories have some relationship to the other categories, greater than or less than the other categories. So, which of those are ordinal variables? B on the scale of 1 to 10, yeah, right. And what was the other one? F. Yeah, that sounds right. Okay. Now those charts that you looked at, I don't have them available in front of me now, but I'll at some point when you start to get the feedback on this, you'll be able to see which ones you got right and which ones you got wrong. I think chances are I won't include that on the test because our next thing we're going to talk about is a normal distribution. And skew is going to be an important part of, like whether it's normal or skewed or bimodal, it's going to be an important part of that. So I might not get too picky. I'm going to, if you do see something on there, it's going to be fairly obvious. Okay, histograms. I'm going to, yes.
Last question about distribution. Do you mean like is it normal or bimodal shape or is it normal?
Yeah, exactly. Well, let's see these types of plots are referred. What are those plots? What are those plots?
They were bimodal, right?
What were they? But what were they? Were they histograms?
Yeah.
So those things are histograms. Those plots. The fourth one, histograms for variable C are examples of a what kind of distribution? Well, what did it look like? Did it look skewed or?
The last one was bimodal because
it's bimodal. Yeah. Okay. Actually, you had to look at it and kind of make a judgment. That is a little bit of a judgment call, right? Okay. Now this one always confuses people a little bit because let me see if I can't find that president's file. Because there'll be something like this, maybe even a little bit more complicated than this. Presidents. Oh, that's okay. Okay, let's take a look at this. Yeah. Whoops. Got away from me here. Okay. How many presidents were 40 to 44 years old? Two. The height of this is the frequency, the number of people in that category. How many presidents were 50 to 54? 10, right? Okay, everybody see that, right? Okay. How many presidents were under 55? Right? 10 were between 50 and 54. 5 were between 45 and 49, and 2 were, and you add those together. That the height of these things are the number of presidents. What's the probability? If you randomly select a president, what's the probability that they would be over 60? Well, first of all, how many presidents are there here? There's 44 here. How many of them are over 60? Well, let's see how we got that. We got 5 that are 64 to 60 to 64. We got 4 that are 65 to 69. Got 1 that's over 70. That was Reagan, right? Okay, so we got 10 presidents out of 44. 10 over 44 is the percentage of presidents. Okay, so now here's the tricky part. Which president is the 25th percentile? How many presidents were there? Okay, which president would be the 25th percentile? The 11th president would be the 25th percentile. If you put them in order by age, the 11th president would be the 25th percentile. Where is the 11th president? He's not in this first bar because there's only 2. This second bar, you have the 2 below him and the 2 here. So the 7 youngest ones are between 40 and 49. The 11th president is somewhere in here between 50 and 54, right? I'm counting up from the left. Everybody comfortable with that? What about the 75th percentile? Which president would that be? 11. And what would that be? He'd be the 33rd president, right? Okay, and how do we find him? We work the opposite direction, right? The oldest president was one president in the 70s. There were 4 presidents that were here. There's another 5 presidents that were here. So we got 10 so far. We haven't gotten to the 11th one, 33rd one from the left and the 11th one from the right. He's in this big bar over here, 55 to 59. In fact, the 75th percentile and the median are both in the same bar, right? Somewhere in that same bar, both of them, both in that same range. So that's right. That was a little tricky, right? But and then we also gave you something that was a conditional probability. What's the probability that the president was of retirement age, given that he was over 50? We're only looking at the presidents that are over 50, so we can forget about these 7 guys. So now we're down to 37 presidents. 37 presidents, and of those 37 presidents, how many were over 65? Only 5 of them. So 5 out of those 37 remaining presidents. Okay. I'll take it any way I can get it, as long as it's the right answer. Okay. So. Okay, so that's where he stood there. I'm going a little late, but if you can stick around, fine. If you got to go, bail out. Using the data, I promise not to keep you guys too much longer. Using the data provided, use an Excel file. Now, that Excel file, what did you do? You did exactly the same exercise that we did in class. Percentiles. Most of you guys, almost everybody was getting that right. Everybody comfortable with that? Doing those exercises in Excel? Percentiles, median, mode, and so on and so forth. You can always go back over the video from that session and actually see me do almost exactly that same exercise. Repeat the calculations using SPSS. Now, I asked you guys to import that file, I think, didn't I, from Excel? Okay, and let me show you how I did that. And let me just go back. What session was that? Was that session 1? Or was it a different file? I don't remember now. Anybody remember what that was? Descriptive statistics?
Yeah.
Descriptive statistics, exercise 1, was it? I'm gonna go back in here and get it. Let me see the best way to do this. Yeah, I don't want to close that window though. What is this? Okay, I don't care about that. Oh man. Let's see if it works. Oh, what do you know? Okay. Oh, made me do it again anyway. Okay. Is it me, or am I doing this 12 times? Is it me? Okay, let me just go in there and get that data file. Yeek. Assignments. Okay, and here it is descriptive statistics, the Excel. Save link as. I'm going to put it on my desktop. Okay, and I'm going to open it from here too, I think. Okay, let's open it. Okay, here it is in Excel. You would go through this and you would actually do this entire exercise and so on and so forth. Well, now you're asked to do the same thing in SPSS, right? There's a couple of ways you can do this. One is you can just copy and paste all of this right into SPSS. What's that?
Oh, we were working on this earlier, and I was like, laughing. You don't want to cut and paste this like 1,000.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true. That's one way you could do this. Did I give you only that version of the file? I guess I did.
There was also the CSV version, which you could use.
And does that have?
It doesn't have the stuff on the bottom.
Oh, so it's only that one, the list of 10 numbers, the CSV version. I don't want to confuse people with that though. Okay, so one thing I could do is I could say over here, I'm going to say copy. I'm going to open a new Excel file while SPSS is starting up for half an hour. And I'm going to paste this. Paste. So now all I have in that file is the numbers. And I'm going to say save as. I'll give it a new name and drop it on the desktop. I'll call it test. Drop it on the desktop. And then I'm going to close it. I have to close it or SPSS won't let me work with it. Okay. And I'm going to get rid of this one. And did SPSS start up here ever? It's still bouncing. Okay, when SPSS opens up, I'm going to say open data, find that thing called test, and import it into SPSS. Or I could just paste those 10 numbers in. Come on, start up. Let me move on to. You could have just cut and pasted it. Yeah, whatever method you want that works is fine with me. Come on, come on. It will open eventually. Isn't that strange that it takes so long to open? There it goes. Okay, and we're almost done here. Okay, I don't like using this, so I just open up the file, say open data. Okay, and I'm going to go to my desktop. There we go, and desktop. And I'm going to tell it I'm looking for an Excel file, so I actually see it. And it's the one I call test. It's right there. And it imports it. See, it only sees numbers between A1 and A10, and it imports those numbers. You could have just as easily just clicked in here, either row, and just typed and just clicked and added them. Notice one of them's missing. What did I do wrong when I imported it? Open. Right. Open data. I'm going to go back and find that file again on the desktop. Say Excel. It was called test. I'm going to say open again. A1 through A10. Notice there's a little checkbox here by read variable names from the first row. I need to uncheck that because all of them, there was no name at the top of that row. So notice how over there it said it only had 9 numbers instead of 10 numbers. Right now it has all 10 numbers because it assumed that first row was a data, and since it was a number, it didn't even really accept it as a data file, as a variable name. Okay, so now that I got this, I can go to analyze, descriptive statistics, do my various statistics. Now, what I'm going to open right now is I'm going to open the file for the NC birth data, North Carolina birth data, if I can find it. And what we ask you to do there is complete the exercise we started in class, copy the chart, and so on and so forth. And the exercise we started in class asks you basically to find the descriptive statistics for, I forget what was it, alcohol? Was it smoking? And, right. And to do it 2 ways. One is to just do all of the data together for descriptive statistics, and then go back and do it again for factoring it into women that smoked and didn't smoke. Okay, so I'm going to do it. I'm going to do that right now. I'm going to download it, or I'm going to open it in SPSS. Here it is here. That's here in North Carolina birth. Okay, I'm going to save the file. Then I'm going to open it in SPSS. Okay. Okay, so now I'm going to do the analysis. Analyze, descriptive statistics. I'm going to use Explore. And I'm going to move into here. The dependence is going to be the weight of the child at birth. And the factor list is going to be whether or not they smoked during pregnancy. I forget exactly what's in the actual document, but that's close enough. Might have been smoke, might have been alcohol. And I'm sorry, what's that? Did I say ounces? It is in ounces there, right? Okay, so I'm going to, statistics is going to say 95%. That's what I want. Plots, I could ask it to do additional plots, including histograms, right? I'm going to do that. It's automatically going to do box plots, right? So I'm going to click OK, and it's going to do everything I want. Now, we did ask you, now here's the mean and the descriptive statistics, mothers who did not smoke during pregnancy, mothers who did smoke during pregnancy, the histograms, and the side-by-side box plots. What's that?
Okay, so double click on the chart. Has to be a chart.
Okay.
Double click. Okay, and it brings that up. Now, if you go to edit, copy chart, then you can paste it right into the Word document without having to use the grab or something else.
Okay.
It only works
Oh,
with
no, no.
charts.
You want to know something? It'll work just with highlighting and then saying copy and paste. The problem I have is that there's a bug in my version of SPSS that ICE just has not gotten me a fix for yet that won't allow me to paste. Let's see if it works now. Oh, it pasted it. That got around the bug. See, normally it would work both ways. Okay, so if we've pasted it in here, I'm gonna reduce the size here so you can see it. Okay, it pasted in here. It's nice to paste it in like a picture like that because then you can resize it and move it around your document and so on and so forth. Okay, so that's what we want you to do. We want you to take the tables and paste them in to a Word document, then upload the Word document. Why is it so important to do that? Because it doesn't do you any good to just have this information in SPSS. You want it in a form where you can communicate it to other people, meaning that when you take EPI, you'll be able to do stuff in SPSS, make nice tables and charts and graphs and so on and so forth, and include them in your paper or when you take other courses and so on and so forth. So if I go back to the output that I had here, let me see if I can do it with a table. I'm going to click on that, say copy, and go back to my Word document, say paste. Okay, and it did paste it in. The only problem with this is notice that the table is very big, and it's very cumbersome to try and resize these things, when they're charts like this. So very frequently, what might be better is if you say, when you say edit and say paste, instead say paste special. And when you say paste special, it's going to give the option of formatted text, unformatted text, and a couple of others. It should give you the opportunity to paste it as a bitmap image or a JPEG, okay, a BMP or a JPEG. And mine doesn't do that for some reason. That's the bug I have, right? So if I could, then it would get pasted in as a picture, right? And then you could resize the thing very easily, move it around, which is a lot more convenient than trying to deal with all these tabs and stuff like that. And I don't know if it's a bug in Word or a bug in SPSS, but I just haven't been able to get to do it with this version. Yes. I'm sorry. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, if you didn't have like a religious objection, or like maybe putting in a couple of words and saying, hey, this is what this says, you could do it. But yeah, if you just paste it in, that's fine for this.